evening, ladies and gentlemen. As always, welcome to Rolling Thunder Gaming, the Talladega Challenge. It must be Thursday night. Tarnation TV alongside Flatout Racing Network. By the way, shout out Flatout Racing Network for covering Rod Weston and myself on Monday. Had to bail on Open Speedway broadcast last minute. Felt really bad about that, but you guys came through in a pinch, so that's really neat of you. It was awesome. Thank you very much. Anyway, tonight, crazy with the playoffs, how we have the top three guys with Spirito, Wesley, and Novsker within 18 points of each other. This stuff never gets old. I'll stop talking and let the professionals do it. My name's Blaine, joined by Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole.
Well, you mentioned there, Blaine, about those top three. We ended up getting some information just about 15 minutes ago before these drivers ended up setting the server forward for the random qualifying draw that one of those top three, Grant Wesley, actually will not be in the field here tonight. We'll have to take provisional points. And Kyle, we talked with a number of drivers last week, including winner Rodney Sellens, and it seemed to be a general consensus that obviously everybody knows that they got to remain consistent here through these final two races of the playoffs, but there's also a lot of emphasis that they need Joe DeSpirito to find a bit of a rough patch so they can gain ground. With Grant not in the field here tonight, it's not 15 points to the points leader, it's now 18 points for Tim Novsker in third, so a little bit of extra breathing space for driver 24 coming into this evening.
Yeah, Joe DeSpirito has been on an amazing run here to start the chase or the playoffs, whatever it is that they're calling it here. But like you said, 18 points now is the lead over the, I guess you can say, Novsker's second in points now. One would assume, seeing how the race is going to go tonight. So, yeah, like you said, extra breathing room for a guy that's been extremely consistent.
A couple of other drivers that we understand will not be in the field here tonight as well. Robert Spring and another of the playoff contenders in Greg Palmer. Greg came into this race 17th of the 18 playoff contenders. More than likely, with 3 races left to go, he would not be able to accumulate enough points to get up into the championship hunt by the time we come around to the season finale in 3 weeks' time. But then again, it's super speedway racing and stranger things have happened. But this is the middle ground. This is the middle race of the chase. 5 races. Whoever has the most points at the conclusion is going to end up winning the championship. No elimination rounds like we've had in seasons past. And you look at even last week's winner, Rodney Sellens, sitting 33 points back. Ulysses Sandoval, Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, Kelly Causey. They all are sitting between 30 to 40 points back, which in a full field seems like it would be doable. But you and I actually talked about this just a little while ago, the fact that even when drivers have really good points days, a lot of the drivers that they're trying to gain ground on, they also have good points days, so it's difficult to make up that ground. I know there's still 3 races left to go, but a bunch of those drivers I just named, are we in must-win territory for those guys still with 3 weeks left in the season?
I'd say probably must win and hope that the guys in front of them have some problems. I mean, it's not out of the... I don't think it's out of the question that something could happen to where the points could be wide open after one race. But, you hate to, we heard last week from a couple guys that you don't wish, misfortune on anybody out there, but that's what they're going to need to have happen. They need to win, or at least, get as many points as they can. And hopefully, DeSpirito and some of these other guys up at the top of the points run into some problems.
You're taking a look right now at the current playoffs coming into this race, the standings as they currently sit 2 races in. So far in those 2 playoff races, playoff contenders have gone to victory lane. Ken Roberts kicked things off a couple of weeks ago. Rodney Sellens joining Tim Novsker as a multi-time winner this season. Odds kind of seem in favor that we will maybe see playoff drivers go 3 for 3 here tonight, but do you think that with drivers maybe trying to rely on consistency still here, maybe even overstep the mark trying to get that victory, we could have a bit of an underdog story and a non-playoff driver go to victory lane here tonight?
We very well could. I mean, we have some drivers, that are not in the playoffs that have won this season. Donnie Garrett comes to mind firsthand, and he's always a contender. So And then there's also, a lot of drivers out there that have ran well, just haven't been able to get the victory lane yet this season and are not in the playoffs. So really, it's wide open for anybody, I think.
Like we're going to have 39 drivers that'll take the green flag here tonight. So just one shy of the full 40-car field. They are mere seconds away from when they'll be gridding up for another 66 laps here this evening at the Talladega Super Speedway. Again, to remind everybody that all the playoff drivers, be 16 of them in total here tonight, all starting at the rear of the field. That was the general consensus this season, that during the playoff races, the playoff drivers would start at the back and have to work their way forward. Subsequently, they've also got pit stalls that are up close towards the entrance of pit lane. That has made things interesting when we've had the cycle of green flag pit stops, and we've also seen drivers run into some issues because of that, trying to make their way up through the eye of the storm to get up to the front of the field. You never know when and where in the field the big one could take place. Well, as these drivers, they'll be gridding up here in just a moment. So we'll get a little bit of a head start on what the starting lineup is going to look like this evening. John Godfrey's going to line up on the pole position. You're going to see a bit of a gap there because, again, Blaine will not tell us the secret of how he's able to get these qualifying laps, but he ended up getting the random qualifying draw on the outside of the front row.
Yeah.
Man, you guys got a good qualifying setup going on here.
The best in the business.
Might be a triple-digit number thing. John's in the 711, Blaine's in the 998. Maybe there's a little bit of extra speed in that extra number or something. Row 2 is now they are going to grid up on pit road here. It's going to be Rod Weston alongside of Cy Jones. Row 3, you'll find Brian Ross and Billy Ellis. Row 4, Bobby Farrell and Jeff Crivello. In your top 10 will be Dennis McCarthy and Bernie Mobbs. You mentioned about Donnie Garrett, not a playoff contender, but a former winner this season. He'll be back in the 6th row with Denny Carroll. Row 7 finds Sean Turner and Terry Bombard. Row 8, Mike Mangialardi and Cody Lamas. Row 9, Jeffrey Elliott, Pat McCarsky. In the top 20 will be RJ Cabana and Glenn Harris. Back in row 11 finds Brian Lovell alongside of Doug Hulick. Row 12, Keith Bynum and Graham McDonald. Then you get to your playoff contenders from the 25th position on back. Row 13, Bob Seminara and Kelly Causey. Row 14 will be Chuck McClure and Brian Schilling. Row 15, completing your top 30, Tim Knopfsker and Michael Norman. Former playoff winner a couple of weeks ago, Ken Roberts. He'll be back in the 16th row alongside of Josh Metallic. Ulysses Sandoval and Greg Lovell back in row 17. Row 18 finds your points leader in the championship standings, Joe DeSpirito alongside of Mark Paglia. In row 19, Jeremy Jeffries and Craig Hagley. And last week's winner, he was first to the start-finish line when the checker flag waved. He'll be last to the start-finish line when the green flag waves tonight. That is Rodney Sullins. Looks like a few drivers electing to take voluntary EOLs, including the 6 of Brian Rawson, the 41 of Denny Carroll, and the 48 of Cody Lamas, an option that a lot of drivers get with the random qualifying draw if they feel more comfortable starting out back at the rear of the field. So it looks like a handful of drivers taking that opportunity to migrate their way back towards the tail end of the lead group. Again, no Grant Wesley in the field here tonight. As you said, Kyle, by proxy, that would move Tim Knopfsker into the 2nd position in live points, 18 points back. Rodney Sullins, Ulysses Sandoval, your top 5 in the points. Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, the defending 2-time series champion from the last 2 seasons. Kelly Causey going to all look to make up ground. A couple of drivers that hit some hard luck last week dropped in the point standings, including Ken Roberts, Michael Norman, and Josh Metallic, all going to be looking to make up ground here tonight, gain back those points that they lost last week. Well, if this had been last season even, we'd have been talking about the next round of the playoffs kicking off. Last week would have been a reset with some eliminated drivers. Not the case here in Season 68. It's the third race of 5 playoff races. It's the middle ground of the postseason. And John Godfrey brings us to the green flag. We're racing at Talladega.
Pretty even start between the front row right there. The 2 cars in the second row were not on the back bumper of either one of them.
A couple of Chevys in that first row, a couple of Dodges in the second row, and that little bit of distance you alluded to is going to allow John Godfrey to clear for the top spot, or is it? Cy Jones going to make a third lane, try and put that Schuler Systems Chevrolet, well, that's tough to say, I won't attempt that 10 times fast, puts him in the sucker hole.
It's going to give Rod Weston the lead here as they exit 3 and 4 onto the front stretch.
Bobby Farrell going to move into second. Dennis McCarthy up into the third spot. Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet across the start-finish line to complete the first lap of the night.
Rod Weston will lead lap 1, but not the 92. Bobby Farrell looking to the inside. He's going to get some help from Donnie Garrett on the bottom, and he's going to take the lead.
Look at this 3 wide from 4th position on back. Godfrey still in the middle. He's got Bernie Mobbs there with him. Terry Bombard on the inside. Nice to see Terry back in the field here this evening. We haven't seen him for quite a number of weeks. Mike Mangialardi, that orange and yellow number 29 right behind him. Top side right now would be the lead car of Rod Weston, that green number 19 Dodge. We got a spinner. That's Bernie Mobbs getting spun to the inside. Caution will not wave, and I think, yeah, Joe DeSpirito was spinning through the grass.
4 wide through the tri-oval, too, to kind of avoid that. Caused a bottleneck there.
It's like Joe DeSpirito got a part of that and kind of had a bit of a connection issue there. I'm back in there, though.
Yeah, I saw his car dart down towards pit road. I don't know if he was taking evasive maneuvers to maybe go down pit road if there was going to be a wreck happening ahead of him, or if he got bumped from behind in the checkup. He was able to gather it back up. I thought the car spun, but I don't think it actually ever went around. The problem for him, though, is he's lost the pack. He's lost the draft, but I guess all things considered, it could have been a lot worse for the points leader.
His car looks to be okay, not having any damage. He's just hoping for a caution here pretty soon.
Yeah, same could not be said for Bernie Mobbs. A lot of damage on the right side of that Citgo Chevrolet. Looks like maybe some damage on the right rear quarter panel as well, as he's now going to bring that machine to pit road. You also have to consider here, who was potentially responsible for that incident. If it was the 31, then he'd be coming down and serving right now. But if somebody else ended up giving him a bump from behind, they have the policy here on Thursday nights that if you're responsible for an incident that doesn't necessarily bring out the caution, you've got to serve a pass-through penalty, or else you get hit with a post-race penalty later.
I haven't seen anybody come down pit road to serve a potential penalty. Only the 31. Bernie Mobbs has pitted.
Well, maybe the 97 of Pat McCarskey might have actually pit. I'll double check on the scoring and see here. Yeah, it looks like he did a pass-through, and actually, unfortunate for him, he actually was caught speeding while doing the pass-through.
Oh. Yeah, because it looked like Mobbs spun off the front of McCarskey. So it looks like Pat took ownership of that one.
He's going to have to come back down pit road once again. I think it'll be another pass-through penalty for the driver of the 197.
Oh, he spun it around. He was headed to pit road to serve his penalty, and he spun it around.
And lose him a lot more time. He's already gone a lap down. Noticed as well, Jeffrey Elliott, he was up inside of the top 20, and he has faded back seemingly to pick up the 31 of Bernie Mobbs.
I've seen Jeff do that before. He'll bail on the pack and go back and assist.
I'll tell you who's not taking any time to get up to the front of the field. Chuck McClure, Brian Schilling. Right now, they're your highest running playoff contenders. They started 28th and 30th off the grid. And less than 6 laps in, they're already up inside of the top 10, the third and fourth cars in that middle line. Michael Norman as well on that inside line there, that green number 30. Just about to break into the top 10 also.
All these playoff drivers starting at the, electing to start at the rear of the field doesn't seem to be affecting them a whole lot.
Went back to see what happened with Jeff. It looks like he disappeared for a little while, so he looks like he might have had an internet problem, which forced him. He probably went down to the apron and slowed down so he wouldn't cause an accident.
That connection issue does work out, at least in the favor of Bernie Mobbs. At least the two of them have somebody to be able to draft with rather than running all by themselves, which is still the predicament that Joe DeSpirito finds himself in.
Looks like there was a little bit of a checkup right there on that inside line, but luckily nothing happened there.
A couple more playoff drivers in that middle groove. Kelly Causey's bright red Budweiser 00 Chevrolet. Craig Hagley right behind him. And then your two most recent winners from the past couple of weeks, Ken Roberts and Rodney Sullins, who, again, remember, Rodney started shotgun on the field, 39th position. Right now, unofficially, I think he'd be around maybe 12th or 13th. Field's about to reel in the 197 of Pat McCarskey. Joe DeSpirito is not in immediate danger as of yet. Still about half a racetrack ahead of the field, but obviously there's a huge difference in the lap times he's turning as opposed to the drivers that are in the draft. Joe last time by ran a 52.1. The drivers in this pack ran in the low 48s. So Joe's going to need a caution sooner rather than later to keep himself on the lead lap here. Otherwise, this field's going to gobble him up.
Kelly Causey trying to get that outside line going right now. He's got, I believe that's the 82 of Craig Hagley behind him.
That was a bit of a sketchy area right there as well. We've seen them go 4 wide off of turn 4.
Here comes Chuck McClure getting in front.
Success.
Chuck McClure saw them coming, moved up to the inside, or to the outside, I'm sorry. Now he's going to lead that outside line.
I remember Chuck McClure, last 2 seasons, he won the championship, did it in different ways. It was the same playoff format, 6 races, 3 rounds. But back in season 66, he ended up winning his way into the playoffs. Season 67, he ended up pointing his way into the playoffs. Well, this season, he also had to point his way in. Still sits with a 0 in the win column, but don't count him out yet. 40 points back, 7th in the standings, still 3 races to work with.
Trying to get up there and get him a bonus point right there. Getting a good push there from Kelly Causey. Side by side there with Donnie Garrett. Might get alongside of Bobby Farrell here pretty soon.
The third line trying to form back there. That's playoff driver Ulysses Sandoval. Mike Mangialardi in the middle. Doug Hulick is the driver on the inside of that 3-wide formation. Looked like for a moment Rodney Sullins was thinking about shading up there, being the lead car of the third line, but maybe not enough momentum yet for him to make that move. Saw a little bit of a side-to-side there out of the leading car in that middle line. Looks like a little bit again there out of Chuck McClure. Might be something to keep an eye on here as the race progresses.
McClure going to lead that lap there.
And immediately goes to the bottom. It's interesting when you look at Chuck McClure's stats so far this season. Only 21 laps led overall coming into tonight. We normally see him out in front, dominating races the last couple of seasons, but it's not really been the case so far here in season 68. As you mentioned, very valuable bonus point there for him, and it looks like Kelly Causey may be getting the same reward here as he'll cross the line P1, so a bonus point to the 00, the driver that came in just in the same vicinity of the points as Chuck McClure. They actually were tied for 7th in points coming into this race. So trying to, I guess, have the tiebreaker here live in the battle for the race lead. Another driver that's making his way forward here was one of the 3 that elected to take a voluntary EOL to the rear of the field when drivers were rolling off the grid. That's the red and black number 41, 6th on the outside line of Denny Carroll. He and Jeremy Jeffries battling it out tonight in the final round of the loser's side of the bracket. Winner of tonight's matchup will go on to next week to face off against Joe DeSpirito to see who will be crowned the season 68 Bracket Series Challenge champion.
Speaking of Joe DeSpirito, there he is right there, about to go a lap down. This is our points leader we talked about, came in here with an 18-point advantage over Tim Knopsker, with Grant Wesley not being in the field tonight. And there were some drivers we heard last week that were jokingly saying, hey, Joe, can you have a bad race or something? And, well, right now, it's not looking good for him, but we're still early on in this thing.
And I have to wonder as well, with the 24 having this issue, granted, the car is up to speed, it's still in one piece, made no contact after he ended up having that adventurous excursion through the tri-oval infield grass, but obviously the rest of the playoff drivers have to be aware of the situation, and we have seen races, even in the playoffs, that have gone caution-free. That is Joe DeSpirito's get-out-of-jail-free card right now, if he's able to get a caution. He's in this lead group. He's currently a lap down. I believe he's now the only driver 1 lap down. Do you think the rest of the playoff drivers will think, you know what? Let's play nice. Let's not give him that luxury of getting the caution, getting back on the lead lap.
I don't know. I think everybody's out there trying to run their own race right now, so it might just have the opposite effect. They might be thinking, oh, wait a minute, the points leader is having trouble. Man, if I get up here and get a good finish here, man, I'm going to gain some points on him. So who knows? Might just be a sense of urgency.
Well, whether they're thinking that or not, their focus is going to have to change pretty quickly, because we have just completed lap 15, about to complete the 16th lap this time around. Green flag pit stops could be on the horizon here for these drivers.
And we've seen those play havoc amongst the field in a good number of races, so definitely got to be focusing on that.
Right now on that inside line, top 6 comprised of 5 playoff contenders. Brian Rawson, the only non-playoff driver. And we do have a handful of playoff contenders that are just kind of chilling at the back of the pack as well. Bob Seminara, Jeremy Jeffries, Tim Knopsker started out back, and they're just kind of lingering around 28th through 30th right now. Might be back there saving a little bit of fuel, go a little bit further than some of the others here if those green flag pit stops come around. Might not be such a bad idea. We talk about all the time when we see about 5 to 8 drivers come to pit road. That's a safe number of drivers to pit with. A little bit more room to be able to all have the braking zones to come down together, leave together. When you come down with a pack of 20, it's a lot more difficult.
A lot more stressful, too. I'd rather pit with, half a dozen cars, maybe a little bit more. I'd hate to come down pit road with about 20 others. That would just make things a lot more difficult.
Jeffrey Elliott on pit road in the 56. Like he was the only driver on pit lane, as he's now taken service down and away. More than likely see some more hands out the window in the next couple of laps. Here comes Bobby Farrell to pit road. He ended up leading the opening 8 laps So obviously he used up a little bit more fuel, and he's got some friends coming down here with him. Donnie Garrett, Mark Paglia, Doug Kulik, Glenn Harris, last week's runner-up finisher, Dennis McCarthy. Like Pat McCarsky and Cy Jones also going to be a part of this group. Got a nice, small, safe pack coming to pit road this time. I think we might end up getting a lot more this time around, though.
I see a lot of cars on the bottom right now getting ready to come down pit road. Comes Causey, a lot of the other leaders right here. This is a big pack.
Wow, look at this. 4, maybe 5 wide coming in. Oh, you knew there was more than likely going to be contact. Metallic is around. Terry Bombard is around.
Ulysses
We got
Sandoval
a couple
got
out
involved
into
in
the
that.
grass. Causey got spun. He's facing the wrong way.
And this is why I would want to pit with a much smaller group right
Yep.
here. Prime example.
Heath Bynum went out into the grass.
That's also why we love NASCAR 2003.
Yes.
None of this iRacing stuff where you're invisible on pit road. You're always in contact with other cars if they're there.
It's more realistic that way.
Yep.
John Godfrey, who had the hard work of widening pit road, trying to make it a little bit more spacious for the drivers to get on there. They used every bit of that racetrack. He got the #1 pit stall here tonight with that random qualifying draw. So he's looking at all that in the rearview mirror and saying, "You sure I didn't make it wide enough?"
He's gonna have to get rid of the infield grass at this point. I
I
mean,
think so.
Yeah, there'll be a sliver left on the outside. We won't even need to hire a landscaper.
We ended up having a few drivers that elected to stay out a little bit longer. Brian Rawson inheriting the top position. Craig Hagley right behind him.
Told that
Rodney Sullins.
told that the 39 at Josh Metallic is going to be serving a penalty.
And indeed, he is coming down pit road. We've also got word that playoff contender, boy, tell you what, tonight is the night for shuffling up the points. No Grant Wesley, who was second in the standings. Joe DeSpirito fell a lap down after that moment off of turn 4. And now Tim Nofsker, who was third in the points, an engine failure at the close of this first cycle of pit stops.
Oh, man.
Yowza.
That is huge right there.
Wow.
And I can tell you with that, Sullins, Sandoval, McClure, Jeffries, Causey, they are licking their chops right now because that is all of the top 3 coming into this race that at least right now are not looking like they are going to have a good points night.
Well, especially with Nofsker being out completely.
Nofsker out, provisional points for Wesley, so
Yeah.
now if you're Joe DeSpirito, you really need that caution because think of the buffer you could be able to build if you can mount a comeback, even a solid top 10 run here tonight with 2 of your closest competitors more than likely going to get no better than 37th place points.
That's a big thing here, too, is it's such a popular race on Thursdays that if you're looking for points, but you end up getting, like you said in Nofsker's case, an engine failure, you end up getting last in a 14-car race. You end up getting last in a race this size, you're losing a ton of points. Because he's only coming out of here with like 20 points or whatever it would be.
Things continue the way they're going, Grant Wesley might actually gain points tonight. I mean, that's
He
just...
could. Yeah, I don't
No.
exactly remember what it is for the provisional. I know that they end up getting a certain amount of points less than the last place car. I think it's 5 points less than the last place car, which by proxy, technically Grant Wesley would get 43rd place points here tonight, 5 less than 38th. There you see Josh Metallic going a lap down after having to serve the penalty there. Metallic, who lost a ton of spots last week, dropped from 8th to 15th in points. That could very well right there be his championship hopes over with 2 races left to go after tonight. And I believe that with him a lap down, we're going to have 30 drivers on the lead lap. There's a couple more just up the road that are also in danger. Kelly Causey, who we saw also have an incident on pit road after leading quite a number of laps tonight. Cody Lamas back here with him as well. Cody actually fell a lap down.
I think Cody
might have had a speeding penalty as well, maybe.
I think I saw Cody in the grass during that round of green flag pit stops. I saw him have some sort of issue, so it's a tough break for Cody. He's had some pretty good runs here the last couple of weeks, including last week in a top 10 finish.
Cody actually sitting the highest of the non-playoff drivers in the standings coming into this week. 19th in points, 6 points over Dennis McCarthy, and 17 points over Graham McDonald. It's been a number of drivers that obviously we haven't been able to talk about running for the championship, but that has not swayed them from being able to still find some good consistency down the home stretch of the season. And who knows? Consistency like that at the close of season 68 might end up giving them the momentum they need for the start of season 69.
You talk about momentum heading into this season when Ken Roberts that won the All-Star race before this season and carried that into this season, made the chase, won the race here a couple of weeks ago. He's currently running in the 3rd position too.
Craig Hagley, after that cycle of pit stops, now the race leader. Next thing that these drivers will be looking at, they had to target the laps 18 to 20 for that round of green flag pit stop. We now sit less than 7 laps away from when those valuable stage points are going to be handed out. And right now, your top 4 comprised of playoff drivers: Hagley, Sullins, Roberts, and McClure. You got to go all the way back to 9th position to find the next playoff driver in Denny Carroll, and those are the only 5 playoff drivers currently inside of the top 10.
I think the next highest one would be like Brian Schilling right there.
Oh, we got
somebody smoking.
That's Jeffrey Elliott. The caution going to come out for debris. We've seen that before with engine failures. Looks like Elliott's going to get the car down onto the apron here, out of harm's way, and it looks like we will avoid the yellow. And a big reason why that is huge, I was about to bring up, that's a tough break for Jeffrey Elliott, but he was the 2nd car 1 lap down behind Josh Metallic. The driver that was 3rd 1 lap down was Joe DeSpirito. Now he moves into a lucky dog position. Second mechanical problem here tonight. Gonna put a driver in the garage area. Jeffrey Elliott, like the diagnosis, an engine piston. Tim Knopsker, the first one out of the race. 2-time winner on the season, 3rd in the playoff standings coming into tonight, an engine header, and he is officially going to finish last here this evening, 38th for the driver of the 088.
Well, the pack has gotten a lot bigger. Michael Norman was leading that 2nd group. They have caught this group right here, so I expect things to get pretty intense here with the stage coming to an end here pretty soon.
Yeah, we had about 15 drivers in the lead pack before Michael Norman brought that contingency up here with him. A couple of lap cars intermingled, but it has now built the field up to upwards of 20 drivers in terms of lead lap cars. Norman and Bob Seminara, I believe, were the playoff contenders in that pack that have now caught up to the lead group. You mentioned about the intensity picking up here with the bigger pack, and obviously as well getting closer to that completion of lap 33. I'm noticing some playoff contenders back there. Brian Schilling, Jeremy Jeffries migrating up to that 3rd line, trying to make something happen to get themselves a little closer to the top 10 running order. Whoa! Bobby Farrell, great save. I thought that was going to be a bumper grab incident between him and RJ Cabana. But good hands there by the STP Ford.
Chuck McClure gets in front of Donnie Garrett, now going to lead that inside line. Looks like Kent Roberts is going to get kicked out of line right here.
Shuffled Ken at least back to the 5th position.
Chuck's not done. Look, going to the inside of Rodney Sollins now. And there goes the 8.
Glenn Harris catches Mark Paglia. We've got a lot of drivers in this one. Brian Schilling, Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Metallic. DeSpirito got caught up in this. Michael Norman. I think I just named about a half dozen playoff drivers right there. Oh, and then Graham McDonald caught the right side of Michael Norman, and Ulysses Sandoval, Mike Mangialardi got into him. Look out! We got oncoming traffic! Oh, Makarski just got Mike Mangialardi.
Makarski almost had it parked, though, so that was pretty good. Low speed impact on that one. Back it up and get a look at it.
One important thing about all those drivers I just mentioned that were involved in that incident that are playoff drivers, this stage is more than likely going to end under caution. The halfway point is more than likely going to end under yellow, and a bunch of those drivers slid across the start-finish line outside of the top 10.
So how's the free pass going to look? Here we saw Joe DeSpirito get a piece of that.
That's a good question. Metallic and DeSpirito, both involved, were at the time the first 2 cars 1 lap down.
Is there a rule that if you're involved in the caution, you can't get the free pass?
I am not sure. Interesting, here are a bunch of drivers coming down pit road, including playoff contender Craig Hagley. Other drivers are going to stay out here. This could be a scenario where they may end up doing a quick yellow, have pits open only a couple of times, and actually go back green on the lap that the points are paid out. Some of these drivers up here electing to go for the stage points might not even make a pit stop under this yellow.
I see some playoff drivers right up here now. I see Chuck McClure. You have Rodney Sollins up here. Bob Seminara's up here.
Hagley as well. Boy, this is going to make things really, really interesting, as there's still about a lap and a half to think about it. Pit road will be open again next time by, but...
See what started this whole thing here.
Glenn Harris was the car I saw first out of shape there through the tri-oval. I wonder if he got a bump from the 28 of Paglia behind him.
Yeah, I got a bump right there in the tri-oval. Dangerous place to bump somebody, and that is exactly why. DeSpirito, slight contact with the wall on the inside.
Yeah, it looked like for the most part, for DeSpirito, as you say, Metallic, Schilling, Jeffries, even Denny Carroll, Michael Norman, it looked like relatively light contact, if that can be a term, at a super speedway. It didn't look like anybody making enough contact or sustaining enough damage that it's going to end their race. The big thing is there was some follow-up contact afterwards. Michael Norman coming back up the racetrack, other drivers racing back to the caution. The 33 of Graham McDonald caught Norman in the right rear, and then Ulysses Sandoval went nose first into the side of the 33. Not sure just how heavy the impact was on those incidents.
Some drivers coming to pit road.
And a couple of those include Josh Metallic and Joe DeSpirito. So jury is going to be out as to whether they are indeed the lucky dog drivers. If, to your point, Kyle, if they do have that rule where if you're involved in the incident, you are not eligible for the lucky dog, then I believe Keith Bynum and Cody Lamas, who were the other 2 drivers off the lead lap, would be the free pass cars. We'll know who the lucky dog drivers are here in a moment. It'll be indicated. They will pull up to the outside of the race leader, and they will go around to get their lap back when the lights go out on the pace car. So we've taken the proverbial white flag here for halfway. Next time by, the points are going to be handed out. And I would not be surprised if the lights go out as well. This is a huge gamble being made by these drivers. They are going to spend this entire caution period not taking on fuel, going to put them majorly off sequence with everybody that did come to pit road over the course of the last 2 laps.
Yeah, a lot of these guys that are racing for the championship, Chuck McClure, Rodney Sollins, Bob Seminara. So these guys are committed to the stage points right now. And there's our points leader, Joe DeSpirito, will get a free pass here. It looks like along with the 39 of Josh Metallic.
A couple of playoff drivers who had some early issues. DeSpirito with the save through the infield grass, went a lap down. Metallic having to serve the pass-through, speeding on pit road during the first cycle of pit stops. They will both get back on the lead lap here, but obviously they will have to forego stage points in the process. And for McClure, Sullins, who are first and second, Seminara, who sits fourth, and Ken Roberts, who sits ninth. Those are going to be the only, as of right now, could have seen some drivers dive to pit road here coming to 1 to green, but as of right now, they would be the drivers that would glean stage points, and a couple more coming down pit road. So I think this would now move potentially Denny Carroll, Brian Schilling, maybe even Craig Hagley up into the top 10. We'll have to see when they cross the line here.
A great idea with lap 33 being a stage point thing, because it's come down to some really cool strategies to try to get those points.
And as of right now, I'm not rightly certain that the drivers that did stay out here, I'm not sure they can make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop. I think they're going to have to pit twice. Everybody else, I think, can make it a one more stop, but I think that right now, I believe it would be the top 3. They're going to have to pit 2 more times, I do believe, unless they were able to save a miraculous amount of fuel here under these pacing laps. But official scoring is going to give Chuck McClure the stage victory. He'll get 10 points. Rodney Sullins, last week's winner, will get 9. Seminara will get 8. Ken Roberts is going to get 5. He will finish 6th. Denny Carroll will get 3. He was 8th across the line. And Brian Schilling will get 1. He was the final driver in the top 10 to receive stage points.
So how are they looking on fuel is the real question here.
As of right now, they might have been able to save an extra lap or 2 here under these pacing laps, but for the top 3, they're going to have to come to pit road within the next 8 to 9 laps. Everybody else, when we go back green, they're going to be able to go until around lap 55.
That's a lot of time for something to happen. At least that's what they're telling themselves right now.
The reason why I think it's going to be 2 pit stops for these guys that stayed out, I think the furthest they're going to be able to go, as I said, be about lap 42, 43. We know that about the furthest they can make it on a tank of fuel is 20 laps. That would put them around lap 62, 63. They would still have to make another pit stop. They would find themselves a few laps short. So this is a major, major gamble. They need another yellow flag to come out, preferably within the next 5 laps or so, to maybe draw drivers back down pit road with them, get back on sequence with the rest of the field. But Chuck McClure has got 10 valuable points here. With the stage victory, he'll get us back under the green flag. So we've got 36 drivers that will take part in this restart, 32 of them on the lead lap.
Looks like Rodney Sollins going to get the advantage here, getting a good push there from Donnie Garrett, but here comes Chuck McClure back on the bottom. He has help from Seminara. Going to draw even with Sollins.
And I think as soon as Sullins, if he does get pushed ahead to the race lead, I think he jumps to the bottom. I think you're going to see the 38, the 17, and the 712 all just bottom feed here until they eventually have to make the dive to pit road. Sullins will, at least for the moment, stay up in that middle line. He is clear, and Donnie Garrett says, hey, I got enough fuel to go further. I want the top spots.
That's a man with nothing to lose right there, too.
Been a lot of parity this season with drivers going to victory lane. Only 2 drivers have been able to claim multiple victories, Rodney Sullins and Tim Knopfsker. Donnie Garrett would like to join that list, as that inside line did not help him maintain the race lead. Sullins back around for the top spot, going to bring Ken Roberts along with him, and now Seminara's to pit road.
All by himself, too. That's very surprising, but we'll see how this plays out.
This is a regularly scheduled stop for the driver of the 712. We'll see just how long the 38 and the 17 can go.
I thought Seminara, McClure, and Sullins would have a bit of a deal there to pit together, but
well, Sullins has made his way down to the inside line now, so one would have to think that far away, but there's the caution. Rod Weston hard up into the outside wall, and there's more. Greg Hagley, Cy Jones, Terry Bombard, Glenn Harris. Massive impact for a couple of drivers there through the center of 3 and 4, and I think that might have been exactly what Bob Seminara was banking on with the timing of that pit stop.
he might be the leader after this thing. I would imagine everybody would come down to pit road on this caution, so great timing there for Bob Seminara.
He was able to get off of pit road, still on the lead lap, as major damage on the 19 of Rod Weston and the 7 of Cy Jones. That was a battle side by side inside of the top 10. I believe it was for the 6th position. It was door-to-door contact. Not sure if Rod maybe got some help from behind. Craig Hagley in the 82 behind him there.
Not sure what happened there. That was
maybe some bumper grab off the back of the 4 of Brian Schilling. It was hard to tell.
'82. Craig Hagley, another playoff contender, was involved in this as well.
They were really tight going into that corner.
They really were. Not a lot of space between the bumpers of all 4 on that outside line.
Not sure if there was a checkup right there toward the front or what. That's just...
Craig Hagley took a pretty good shot from Pat McCarskey after that initial contact between himself and Rod Weston. There was then the follow-up wreck of drivers trying to scatter low to avoid. Terry Bombard bumper hooks off of Jeremy Jeffries, catches Cy Jones. Kelly Causey, I think, got a piece. Glenn Harris gets some late contact. I believe Keith Bynum also was in it.
Kelly Causey caught the 10 car right there. Glenn Harris absolutely nowhere to go.
And both Joe DeSpirito and Josh Metallic, who had just gotten back in the lead lap, one had to zig, the other one had to zag, but they were able to avoid that incident. Mark Pagley got a small piece of that wreck, but he was able to hang on to it, kept it pointed straight and rolling. Of the playoff drivers, I think the one that took the biggest brunt of the contact was the 82 of Craig Hagley, who had already spent quite a number of laps out in front, 11 laps currently in total. Most laps led of the drivers so far here tonight. As you said, Kyle, most drivers came down pit road, and this caution worked out great for the 712 of Bob Seminara, who right now is scored in 3rd. More than likely, I think, will be the race leader once we go back green. I think Brian Rawson's staying out here to lead another lap. We normally see him pit 2nd time round. Craig Hagley also currently out there. might have been hoping maybe to lead another lap, or might have taken responsibility for the caution, one or the other, and if he pits the second time by, then it will indeed be the 712 out in front, and that will actually be what was looking like could be a very costly gamble, is actually not only going to net him some valuable stage points, but now, if Rawson comes to pit road and Seminara inherits the lead, that'll be his first lap lead of the night, another bonus point.
Everything falling into place for Seminara so far.
It's wild because it's such a risk going down by yourself, but then, you know, like you said, yellow flag comes out and he's like, oh, well, isn't that fantastic? Now he's sitting up here in the front, you know, top 5.
There's a number of drivers out there that are not afraid to try something different in terms of pit strategy. Bob Seminara is one of them. Ulysses Sandoval's another. And you see the gamble pay off here for Seminara so far.
We always talk about the unpredictability of super speedway race, and a lot of times it comes down to the timing of the caution. Kind of 5% strategy and 95% hope, I think, in a lot of cases. Looks like Rod Weston, who had a lot of damage on the front end of his Dodge. Looks like he's made the left-hand turn to the garage area. He's going to join Jeffrey Elliott and Tim Knopsker out of this race. We had only 2 drivers that were 1 lap down at the time that yellow came out. You're going to see them make their way on the top side there. Cody Lamas and Keith Bynum going to get the free passes. So that will have 33 drivers on the lead lap of 35 drivers remaining in this race. I'll tell you, this caution was a big break for as well. Rodney Sullins, Chuck McClure, because they were able to come down pit road as well. And now they're back on the same sequence as everybody else. They did lose some track position, however. Rodney's back in 12th. Chuck is back in 15th. A big reason for that was a lot of drivers that had been on pit road under the last caution didn't have to wait as long on fuel as those 2 drivers did. So that is going to cost them some spots in the running order on this restart, but it does bail them out of having to make a pit stop all by their lonesome and potentially find themselves getting reeled in by the field and put a lap down under green flag conditions.
Ryan Rawson does come down to pit road, but looking at Cody Lamas's car makes me wonder, can Cody see the future? Because it was announced earlier this week, Jimmy Johnson will run the 48 in his final race next season in the Daytona 500, sponsored by Carvana. And you look at Cody's car.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Cody tried predicting the future this past Saturday night in the ASR Premier Talladega series. He the graphic for the race event showed a 48 at the top of the scoring pile, and he says, "This is a sign that I'm going to win the race." Well, he managed to make his way through a last lap wreck, but he ended up finishing in the 10th position. So,
well, I mean, top 10. That's not too bad.
It's first. It just has a 0 after it.
Yes.
Look at how this caution is shuffled up the running order now. Seminara going to inherit the lead. He'll be the leader when we go back green. Ken Roberts will line up to his outside. And then you've got a bunch of non-playoff drivers making up the next few rows. RJ Cabana, Bobby Farrell, Jeff Cravello, Brian Lovell, pole sitter John Godfrey, Donnie Garrett. That's your second, third, and fourth rows. Then Greg Lovell in 9th, and Rodney Sullins right now will be in the 10th position. Only 3 playoff drivers comprising the top 10. And by the way, in case people were wondering, they cannot yet make it on fuel. It could make things very interesting if we go green to the finish. Projection is showing drivers anywhere from 3 to 4 laps short. And you mentioned about there being a bunch of drivers, they're not afraid to go outside the box in terms of strategy, specifically fuel strategy. There might be some drivers back there already making some preliminary plans to maybe cross the start-finish line on fumes.
And to spin that kind of race, we've seen a little bit of everything, so it'd be kind of fitting if it came down to fuel mileage.
Get your mic on so I can talk to you. I'm available for an interview.
Still got a long way to go to get there, though.
Couple drivers keep an eye on. Got the lucky dogs. Under the last caution, Josh Metallic, points leader Joe DeSpirito. They will restart on the outside of rows 7 and 8 and 14th and 16th respectively. Far cry from where they were destined to finish prior to the yellow flag coming out about 15 laps ago, as we're back underway. Good launch there on the top side for Ken Roberts. Again, a bit of distance from the lead cars to the drivers in the second row. It's a matter of who gets up to the back bumper first.
Seminara gets a good run on the bottom. Looks like he's going to get the lead, getting a good push from RJ Cabana right behind him. Ken Roberts not going anywhere. He's getting a good push from Bobby Farrell on that outside line.
And even going into 3. A couple of Chevrolets on the bottom, a Chevy and a Ford up on the top side. Got one driver shading 3 wide back there, Kelly Causey, but that's outside of the top 15. First 7 or 8 rows, all gridlocked side by side, 2 by 2, as Ken Roberts gonna cross the line. Already led a couple of laps tonight, so already has the bonus point. And looking for his second win in the past 3 races.
Got Kelly Causey on the outside trying to get that third line going, but he's got absolutely nobody behind him. He's going to fall back.
Tucks in behind Doug Hewlick, right in front of Graham McDonald. Had a close moment there off at turn 2. Donnie Garrett, Jeff Crivello nearly making contact in a battle for 4th as Brian Lovell will shift from top to bottom. He'll try and get alongside of Bobby Farrell for P2 off of 4.
Now we got an outside line foreman, and leading it is our points leader, Joe DeSpirito.
And if you're those drivers like Sullins and McClure and Seminara who played the strategy gamble to get stage points, this is the last thing you want to see is the 24 not only on the lead lap, but working his way back up towards the front as well.
Looks like Michael Norman gonna lead that outside line now.
Joe came into this race 15 points up on Grant Wesley, who's not in the field tonight. 18 points up on Tim Knopfsker, who's out of the race due to an engine failure. Next closest competitor to him would have been Rodney Sullins, last week's winner, who was 33 points back. Rodney did manage to get 9 points at the halfway stage, and he currently is running a few cars ahead right there of the 24, now the lead car of that third line.
Rodney Sullins not leading that outside line with Michael Norman, Joe DeSpirito, and others.
And they're not going anywhere. You could see that momentum was on the inside line. McClure got clear. Farrell's looking to do the same. Mark Paglia having a hard time getting that momentum going the longer way around the racetrack.
Seminara making a move for the lead up here. Well, he was. Now Ken Roberts gets in front of him. Where did Donnie Garrett come from? I didn't even notice him up there. Now he's side by side for the lead.
Roberts by half a car length going to lead that lap, but to your point, Donnie Garrett slices and dicing his way back up to the front of the field. Going to have a nose on Ken off of turn 2, but then we'll see that momentum build in that outside line, that middle line down the back straightaway. Second, third, fourth cars in line, all trying to chain bump, trying to keep the draft as tight as possible.
Somebody just disappeared.
Just disappeared.
There he is. Wow, that is a... Can't be a good feeling there for Bobby Farrell just to see the car right in front of you disappear like that and then reappear.
Bad enough when it happens on a straightaway. It's even worse when it happens in the turn.
Oh, yeah.
See the levels there on the inside line. Brian in the 44, Greg in the 880. Greg Lovell, one of our playoff contenders, but 14th in points coming tonight, 60 points out of the top position. Putting together a solid race, though. Kind of been tonight if you're a playoff driver, you don't want to be mentioned. That means that you've stayed out of trouble. A lot of the drivers that we've talked about have run into issues here this evening. Talladega does not play favorites. It doesn't care who's in the hunt for the championship. It doesn't care where you're positioned in the point standings. It will treat you equally, and not always in a positive way.
Yeah, Talladega's like that in real life, too. Seen some of the weirdest things happen at Talladega Superspeedway over the years.
Rewind again. Ooh, Ken Roberts. Oh my goodness, boy, we are
Wow.
making moves there. Roberts up in front of Sullins. Seminara slid across the nose of RJ Cabana to get to the inside. We're still 3 wide around the 8th position.
They are slicing and dicing for sure. That doing a great job of hanging on to everything so far.
Taking what they can get. I think that during the course of that last couple of corners, 3 or 4 drivers didn't even wait for their spotter to tell them clear before they went down or up in front of the respective drivers. In the rearview mirror is, whoa, close there between RJ Cabana and Mark Paglia around the 6th position.
I think we saw some of this on the interstate on the drive over from Chicago here.
I think
but
you're right.
Luckily, we weren't going nearly as fast as these guys are right now.
Well, both cases had something similar. No turn signals were used.
Yeah, but the excuse that they have is these cars don't have turn signals.
The strategy calls for McClure, Seminara, Sullins. Looks like it's worked out. Granted, they gave up some track position, did McClure and Sullins, but McClure's back out to the race lead. Seminara right there with him on that outside line, and Sullins not that far back. He's the 5th car on the outside line, so the gamble, at least for the moment, appears that it has definitely paid off for all 3 of those drivers who gave up the track position to get those valuable stage points.
All 3 have stage points. All 3 have gotten a bonus point for leading a lap so far tonight, too.
We've now entered into the window where if we were to get a caution from here on out, everybody would be able to come to pit road, be able to take on enough fuel to reach the checkered flag. As things are right now, though, most of the field still sits about 3 to 4 laps short of making it the scheduled distance. That's roughly about a half a can that you would have to take on of fuel. So if we continue to trend green, those final pit stops could take place as early as the completion of lap 61 onto 62. We're still sitting more than 10 laps away from that, though. Anything can happen from here to that point.
I think the real question is, what's it showing for Brian Schilling right now? Like,
Yeah,
anytime it comes down to fuel mileage, that's the first driver to come to mind right there. That guy is incredible at saving fuel.
That's one thing I hate about NR and iRacing. When you're in the spectator cam, you cannot find that information. They will show you a generic fuel gauge. They will show you a generic water temperature, all that stuff. So you can't glean that information if you're kind of trying to spy on somebody.
Yeah, you'd be stealing all the secrets from the enemy, right? That'd be cheating.
But we're the broadcasters. Nobody will know.
Yeah, they should let us do it. Cars that are retired should have access to the gauges.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
And we
seems fair to me.
promise not to tell anybody. Which is kind of what we're doing right now on a broadcast, but whatever.
Right now, Craig Hagley, who we know was involved in that last wreck, appears to be quite damaged and off the pace, has lost touch with the lead group. He's got the bonus point right now for most laps led. The only driver that has led double-digit laps tonight at 11. 2 drivers currently sit with 7 laps led. That would be Ken Roberts and Kelly Causey. Bob Seminara has led 5, Bobby Farrell has led 8, and Chuck McClure just led his 5th. Gotta wonder if Chuck can keep this car out in front here for a few more laps, if he could maybe also net the bonus point for most laps led, take that away from Craig Hagley. As, whoa!
Hagley with a problem.
Did he blow up? Mark Paglia in the 28. Oh, and Cy
and
Jones is going to get him.
I was just about to say everyone did a great job of avoiding him, but boy, Cy Jones last minute gets into the back of him, and all that talk about fuel mileage has gone out the window right here.
I don't know if he blew up. I don't know if there was a game freeze. I don't see smoke out from underneath that race car, but he definitely lost speed. It was showing that his car was still in fourth gear.
Holy cow.
And he has called the tow to pit road.
I was told the 28 blew up.
Wow.
Running in the third position.
How in the world did Rodney Sullins and Ken Roberts and Donnie Garrett and Kelly Causey, how did they get around him? I mean, that should have been the big one off of 4.
That's what I want to know. And oh man, Cy Jones, man, he should have just they should just stayed to the outside. He would have been fine right there, but
I mean, we talk all the time that there has to be communication in super speedway racing. A lot of times communication if there's a checkup in a respective lane, but how in the world do you communicate back to, what would it have been, about roughly 30 drivers in the rearview mirror? I'm blowing up, go around me when you're exiting out of a corner.
yeah, that is just absolutely amazing right there.
I mean, we were 4 wide, 2, 3 separate occasions right there. You had Causey, Godfrey, Cabana, who took him 4 wide. Then behind them, you had Sandoval, Hewlick, and McCarthy, who took him 4 wide.
Oh, Ken Roberts out in the grass. The brouhaha on pit road.
Billy Ellis are out there as well. We have 29 with a problem. Rodney Sullins with a problem on pit. Man.
Not sure exactly what happened there.
To get started with the 55. First car I saw go around there.
Oh, actually, I think the 63 of Keith Bynum tried to turn into his pit stall. He had Cody Lamas to driver's right, or correction, to driver's left. And then Ken had to swing out wide to avoid. He gets tagged from behind by Brian Rawson, and then it just stacks up. There were a couple of other drivers involved in that, including Joe DeSpirito and Greg Lovell. So a couple more playoff contenders. And the problem with that for a number of drivers, including Roberts and Sullins, you don't get those spots back on pit road. Where you cross the line, leaving pit lane is where you line up. And Sullins, who was up inside the top 10, if not the top 5 when they came down pit road, he's going to lose a lot of spots here for this upcoming restart. Roberts more than likely as well. Scoring showing Roberts crossing the line off of pit road in 16th, Sullins all the way back in 27th.
Looks like Michael Norman is going to restart around 24th. He just said he forgot to take tires off of the pit strategy right there, so he ended up taking 4 tires accidentally, and he said we can make fun of him on the broadcast if we want to.
Hey, tires are free, though.
What a dumb move.
Watch him win now. It's going to make the car all that much faster. 2 playoff drivers. So we sit 10 laps away from the conclusion of this 3rd playoff race back in the garage area. Knopfsker with the issue, mechanical failure earlier on in the evening. Mark Paglia with an engine failure, the most recent caution here. Mark is going to finish in 35th. Mentioned Knopfsker in 38th. Rod Weston, Jeffrey Elliott, the other drivers out of the race. Weston's the only one that's out for crash damage. The other 3, all mechanical problems, specifically engine failures. And we've still got at least 10 more laps to go here. We'll Be 9 to go when they hit the start-finish line. It's something I noticed. I don't know if it was a strategy play here. We know that Craig Hagley is off the pace. More than likely will not be able to stay with the lead pack again. He stayed out, led another lap, bringing him up to 12 laps led. I wonder if that was a play to make sure that it puts it out of range of any other of the playoff drivers leading more laps than him and sniping that bonus point.
Smart move on his part, if that's the case.
Yeah, it's a good plan every little bit, right?
It's like Bernie Mobbs and Sean Turner, the 31 and the 136. They're going to be the free pass cars. They were the only 2 drivers 1 lap down. Under this yellow, only 3 drivers were off the lead lap at the time that caution flew. The other one, Pat McCarskey, who sits 2 laps down in the 34th position. And Donnie Garrett will be the control car to get us back under the green. We should see the lights out this time by. RJ Cabana will line up in second. Brian Lovell, John Godfrey trying to go coast to coast, pole to win, as he's up here in 4th. Highest of your playoff drivers is going to be Chuck McClure. He'll restart in 5th with Bob Seminara, another playoff driver, in 6th. Bobby Farrell, who's led 8 laps tonight, will line up in 7th. Denny Carroll, Greg Lovell, Brian Schilling, playoff contenders, all will make up the remainder of the top 10. Rest of the playoff drivers, this is how they're going to line up. Ulysses Sandoval 12th, Joe DeSpirito in 13th. Ken Roberts will be 15th. Josh Metallic 17th. Jeremy Jeffries in 18th, 19th place will be Kelly Causey. Michael Norman in 23rd. Rodney Sullins all the way back in the 25th position. And Craig Hagley in 30th. Also bear in mind that battle between Denny Carroll and Jeremy Jeffries for the finals on the loser side of the bracket challenge here tonight. Both going to restart in pretty close proximity to each other. Denny Carroll's 8th to Jeremy Jeffries' 18th. Jeremy going to try and find his way up there to the 41 to see who's going to face off against Joe DeSpirito next week. We'll be talking a little bit more in depth about the finals of the bracket challenge next week. We could end up seeing as many as 2 rounds in the final round of the bracket challenge. Whoever ends up advancing between Jeremy and Denny, if they are able to defeat Joe next week, we go into a rubber match in the season finale, and then the highest finisher there will be declared the champion. If Joe DeSpirito is able to defeat either Denny or Jeremy next week, he would officially be the bracket challenge champion for season 68. What do you think? This the last restart of the night here?
I'm going to say yes.
Gonna be with 8 laps to go. And Donnie Garrett, who has so far led 3 laps in this race, going to lead his 4th as he'll bring us back to the green flag here tonight at Talladega. Boy, that inside line timed it well. All 3 cars there, Garrett, Lovell, and McClure, all launched at the exact same time.
Looks like RJ Cabana didn't quite get going right there. He's getting up there now, but I think that hurt that outside line initially.
Third line already starting to form back there around the Doug Hewlick machine. Drivers in that second groove, they'll be noticing that. Brian Schilling now jumping up there. As Garrett clear of both lanes, Lovell nearly had himself clear of RJ Cabana off of turn 4. Now I believe does find himself clear as they approach the start-finish line. It'll be side by side for 3rd.
Brian Schilling trying to get a far outside line going right there, but he's only got the 23 behind him.
Close call on that outside line between RJ Cabana and John Godfrey. That might slow that middle lineup even more down the back straightaway. Good tight draft on that inside line. McClure is now clear into the third position.
A lot of ground between him and Bobby Farrell right there. That might help that middle line.
Cabana trying to get back to the right rear quarter panel of that gentleman Jack Chevrolet. And McClure, clear, will go up to the top side. He's going to try and see if he can challenge Brian Lovell for second. Might have thoughts about trying to get pushed to the lead. Field pretty gridlocked right here down the back straightaway, but the momentum is in that middle line. Boy, seen a lot of cars darting left and right as Cabana.
What a move.
One in the grass, that's Metallic. Oh, and he got the aid of Glenn Harris, Craig Hagley up and over. Harry Bombard involved as well.
Racing
We're
back.
going to rack him up, do it again. We have enough laps for another restart.
What happened to the
Metallic
39?
Who had gotten back on the lead lap after falling a lap down. Yeah, he was down in the grass. Like, I don't know if he got doored down there.
I didn't see any smoke initially of him potentially spinning out. Very well could be wrong in that assumption, but...
And it was raced back to the start-finish line. RJ Cabana was able to lead them back to the start-finish line. So he's going to be the control car on what will undoubtedly be the final restart of the night. As Metallic was running, I believe that was the 8th car on the inside line. And I think movement of the 55 of Ken Roberts in front of him. Bumper grabs the 39 of Metallic. Down way low into the entry of the corner. He's trying to save it. Man, Michael Norman with a great avoidance, but unfortunately, Glenn Harris not so lucky.
It's a pretty good save by Metallic, but yeah, Harris came down. It looked like, again, really tight bump drafting headed into that turn, and they just ran out of space.
And Harris actually got shot down the racetrack as he was squeezed up into the wall by the 136 of Sean Turner. It's a helpless feeling when you're in the position that Metallic is in. The best that you can do is kind of trail the brake, but you can't slam on the brakes, because if you do, then there's a huge difference of momentum between you and the field when you try and blend back up. At the same time, you can't keep the car full throttle, otherwise we saw him be able to kind of stick the car in the middle line. If he was still in the throttle going into that corner, he would have been all the way up into the outside wall by the time he entered into turn 3. And I think Metallic would have been okay even after the contact with Glenn Harris. Problem was the car then slid back up the racetrack, sandwiched Craig Hagley. And I'd be a little concerned about that right side damage now on that Aero McLaren Papaya Orange number 39, especially with the fact, too, that not a whole lot of laps to work with to be able to work your way back forward now.
That looked like the front end took a hard hit on the wall right there. It's that second time up the track, too, so... Don't know if the 39 will be up to speed here with the few laps that we're going to have left in this thing.
And we're going to have to wait and see just exactly how many laps that is going to be. The lights are still on atop the pace car. If they go out this time by, then we'll be looking at a 3-lap shootout. If they stay on an extra lap here, then we'd be looking at a 2-lap shootout. We do have a lap machine that will get the free pass, and Pat McCarsky, he'll get one of his 2 laps back. RJ Cabana, who got a big push there from Donnie Garrett off of turn 4 and through the tri-oval, was able to take the caution. He will be the control car on this restart, and our front row will be comprised of non-playoff drivers in Cabana and Garrett. Chuck McClure will line up in third with Brian Lovell in the 4th position. Had we been under green flag conditions, them crossing the start-finish line here, completing 62 onto 63, would have been what we dubbed the point of no return, where the next flag would have ended the race. So that will indeed be the case here when they eventually go back green, which looks like it will be still another couple of laps from now.
They have the ability to shut those lights off early, correct?
That is correct. I believe that they have to have pit road open at least twice here due to the fact of having the lap car, giving them the luxury of being the free pass machine of coming down pit road, taking service before going around and getting their lap. So we should get the lights out next time by. But look back here at drivers, even back outside of the top 10. Denny Carroll, Kelly Causey, Joe DeSpirito, Ken Roberts, Brian Schilling, Rodney Sullins. I don't see any foreseeable way outside of a massive wreck at the front, them being able to do some fancy driving, getting through to be able to snipe a victory or a top 5 finish. I don't really see them having enough time to be able to get up here into the conversation for this victory. So while we will obviously be keeping our focus on the front of the field, I think there's going to be a mad scramble outside of the top 10 there. All those drivers trying to get what they possibly can in the closing stages. There you see Makarski on the top side. The lights go out in the pace car, which should be this time by. He'll go around, get his lap back. They'll put him at -1. Makarski in the 34th position. 34 drivers. Going to take what will be the final restart of the night. Well, the bad news for Craig Hagley is he is not going to have the best finishing result this evening. The good news is his bonus point for most laps led will not be in jeopardy. There is no way that even if someone led the last 2 laps, that they could accumulate enough total laps to eclipse the 12 laps led by Craig Hagley. So he will get the bonus point for most laps led here this evening at 12. Well, we have seen a little bit of everything when it comes to the super speedway racing on Thursday nights. We've seen fuel strategy races, and we've seen shootouts. This is going to be one of those shootouts here. They've been bumping, they've been pushing here tonight. Throw all that out the window. We now enter into shove territory, I think, here for these final 2 laps.
2-lap shootout at Talladega. Boy, history says that's a recipe for some fireworks.
Whoever is the race leader's got to bring him back. Cross the start-finish line, receiving the white flag for them to be able to race back to the checkers. If the caution comes out between the green flag for the restart and the receiving of the white flag, race will end under yellow. And it will still be race back territory as well. And we've seen cautions fly at various areas of the racetrack. Sometimes it comes out in turn 1, gives them nearly 2.5 miles to be able to race back to the start-finish line. Sometimes it comes out right in the center of the tribal and gives them only a few hundred feet to be able to race back to the stripe. See what the scenario is going to be here as RJ Cabana looking to snap the back-to-back victories in the postseason by playoff drivers. Looking to be the first non-playoff driver to go to victory lane here in the postseason. Same for Donnie Garrett, who's looking to join Tim Knopfsker and Rodney Sullins as a multi-time winner here in season 68. And Chuck McClure, the defending 2-time series champion for the past 2 seasons, looking for his first victory as he will make up the remainder of the podium here. Green, white, checkered in playoff race number 3.
Donnie Garrett got a good restart, but the 44 behind him did not. Got the 17 all over the back bumper of the 889.
How about this? You can't script it. Jeremy Jeffries, Denny Carroll, nose to tail on that outside line.
Huh.
And we're fanning out. Double wide, 3 wide. Big block there by Garrett. Oh, we're looking 4.
Yowza.
No, Jeffries.
Oh.
Contact there, keeping it going.
Greg Lovell up and into the outside wall a little bit there as they traverse through the tri-oval. I think they're barely going to make it back. They're still 4 wide. Bynum getting shuffled out.
They're going to get the white.
Flag's been received. And RJ Cabana pulled off the defending multi-time series champion Chuck McClure down the back straightaway. McClure looks high. Contact made. McClure goes down round. He takes Godfrey with him.
Seminara looking.
Oh,
Now Garrett to the
Garrett's
inside.
slow. Cabana blocks the bottom. Seminara's alongside. Another car up into the wall. That's Brian
44.
Lovell. This is going to be a drag race through the trunk. Cabana on the bottom. Seminara on the top. Coming
Wow,
the line.
dude.
It's going to be Seminara, I think.
Oh! I think it was Seminara, but we got to wait
Cabana.
for scoring.
Cabana.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know how close it is. I can't see it. I got zeros.
Wow.
That was a tie.
1/1000th.
One.
Excellent.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Now
Broadcast can't see
here's
it.
the thing, though. Here's the thing that we do have to kind of wonder about. Seminara has been in this situation before, where he crossed the line in second, but the following week he was called the winner. That wreck on the back straightaway was bumper grab between the 889 and the 17. If that gets called on Cabana, would Seminara end up getting the victory in post-race review?
Oh.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised right there. I mean, could they be reviewing that right now? That was the
I'm not
question.
sure.
So
They
we saw this.
probably
I
let
think
it
it was
stick.
last. I think it was last season that
It
happened.
was.
It was Bob Seminara and Tim Anderson. Anderson edged Seminara at the line, but as you mentioned, there was a wreck on the last lap involving the 033, and Anderson was penalized, and Seminara went the victory lane. See
Yeah, I
RJ
think it
Cabana
was-
celebrating right now.
And I think it was a very similar situation. The Anderson incident and this one, bumper grab off of a block.
And I think Chuck McClure was involved in that both times, ironically enough. And yeah,
I think we have a little message being sent right there.
well, I
Wow.
don't think I've seen a post-race confrontation between anybody yet. Let's see what happened here.
Cabana fighting to win this race. McClure fighting to get the race lead. And
Oh yeah,
There
there's
was-
definitely a block thrown right there by the
Definitely.
889.
McClure tried to gather it up, but then he catches the front of John Godfrey. Tough break there for Godfrey.
But look at this run that Seminara gets because of that. He goes to the outside. He's going to have Bobby Farrell behind him.
I mean, he doesn't have Farrell really on his back bumper until they come out of turn 4. There's about half a car length of space between the two all the way through 3 and 4.
It's a good push right there. I thought the 712 had it at the
I thought
line
he did
here,
too.
but
Well, obviously, it's the closest finish of the season. 1/1000th of a second.
if I had to make a prediction, though, after what we saw last season, I would be surprised if Cabana keeps the win.
I would agree. If it's consistent with last season and what we remember with the Tim Anderson incident, I would be very surprised as well if the 712 is not the race winner by the time we come back on the air next week. That doesn't take away from the thrilling finish right there, though. And of course, everything is unofficial as of right now. Cabana was the first one across the start-finish line, so we will interview as such, along with Seminara and Garrett, to bring it home your podium finishers number of drivers actually did a great job working their way back forward there into the top 10 playoff contenders. Sandoval going to finish 5th. Jeremy Jeffries, there you go. Jeremy Jeffries, Joe DeSpirito next week will battle in the finals for the Bracket Challenge Championship as Jeremy got 6th. Joe DeSpirito, who in the early going of this race, he ended up going a lap down after he ended up losing the draft after contact off of turn 4. Got the lucky dog, back on the lead lap, going to finish in the 10th position. That is not what the rest of the playoff drivers wanted to see.
When it's your season, it's your season. I mean, look at that.
Andy Carroll going to finish in 9th, Kelly Causey in 10th, and then a couple of other playoff drivers just outside the top 10 there in Ken Roberts and Rodney Sullins. The Joe DeSpirito thing reminds me of a broadcast I was a part of Tuesday night where on lap 1, a driver was battling to stay on the lead lap at Bristol. 225 laps later, we were calling his name at victory lane. So, man, DeSpirito able to continue to dodge the bullets, and the consistent season continues for driver number 24. But there will undoubtedly, in the point standings, be a lot of shuffling from second place on back with no Grant Wesley in the field. Knopfsker with the engine failure here tonight. Late issues for Josh Metallic as well. Really interesting to see what the landscape of the playoffs look like at the conclusion of tonight, going into the penultimate race of the season next week. But let's see if we can go down and dial up our podium finishers on the night. Let's kick things off with the 3rd place finisher, Donnie Garrett. Hey, Donnie, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you guys.
Man, I'll tell you what. Saw the 77 out in front for a good portion of this race. Had that green-white checkered coming up here. We've seen you pull off some late race theatrics before. Was there anything you could have done to be able to try and make a move there on Cabana and Seminary, where you kind of boxed in, committed to pushing that inside line?
The 44 went too early. I told him he got all mad for me blocking him, but he went too early. I mean, you got to get a couple laps under you there and wait. I don't know why he did that so early, but anyway. But yeah, got 3rd. Come back, got 3rd, and yeah, got a good night, man. I need it. I've had a terrible season, and even though you're not in the chase, you still got to be racing to stay in this top 30, because that encompasses next season. I got a contract through 2030 with Astroglide, and so I can't miss races. So I gotta stay in that top 30. So I got these finishes are tough, but you gotta stay up front to make sure that I have those locked in for those first 3 races of next season.
Well, you not only mentioned about trying to make sure that you're in the top 30 in points, but we also talked about the fact that even for the drivers that may not be battling for the championship, build some momentum towards the start of season 69. Kyle mentioned here this evening that really able to have the freedom of have the nothing to lose mentality. Saw you make a lot of really good moves. I remember you making a move from top to bottom, a crossover for the race lead out of turn number 4 back around the midway portion of this race. How does that kind of balance with knowing that you've got that freedom to make those moves as opposed to drivers that do have a lot to lose in terms of points that have the championship hanging in the balance? How does that help you to be able to carve your way up through the field as we saw you do?
Well, the first thing you want to do is be respectful for anyone in the chase. That's the first thing. And second thing is, you can take chances that other guys can't, and you know who's around you and who's in the chase, who has to be careful. I hate seeing that happen to Chuck there. I think that would have been a good finish with us with Chuck up there. I hate seeing him getting spun like that. But yeah, it got a little wild up there. And but yeah, I just let it go, man. But again, you got to keep in the back of your mind. I came in tonight 30th in points, and because I missed those 2 weeks on vacation, that killed me for the season, and you just can't do that. And but again, I'm racing for next season, and you gotta, like you said, build a momentum for next season. I feel good on those couple of weeks off, and we got that Bones Memorial coming up. Gonna be looking forward to that, and get out there and get ready to go for next season. And I don't think I have any vacations planned for next season, so should be trying to go for this championship.
So it's kind of interesting you mentioned about the fact that missing the last couple of weeks. So theoretically, this is the first playoff race that you've been in this season, and obviously there's 2 races left to go. This was the middle ground of the playoffs. With what we saw here tonight, it was looking like maybe it was going to be a fuel strategy race, and a couple of late cautions set us up for this green-white checkered. Have you been able to kind of get a feeling of the pulse of what to expect in these next races going forward to close out the season?
Well, going back to what you said, I have nothing to lose. I was 2 laps short on that because I took a half a can. It called for a can, and then once we did everything, I ended up about a lap, maybe a lap and a half short. And then that caution came out and saved me, but it kept me up front. I wouldn't have done that if I was in the chase. I'd have took a can and, went back about 7th or 8th. And but again, I have that luxury that I could, if I run out, I run out. When nobody remembers who finished second. So, just going for those wins.
Well, a great run for you here tonight, able to get those points you needed to keep yourself up there in the top 30 in the point stand. Some great momentum as well with 2 races left to go here in the season. Had the photo finish for the race win, but a great photo finish right there between yourself and Bobby Farrell as well. Our scoring showing that was 0.02 of a second, and get you the opportunity, for better or for worse, to talk with us up here in the booth. But Donnie, congratulations on the great run here tonight, and we'll now give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, guys, thank you guys. You guys always put on a great race. Can't wait to watch this. Like I said, I did make some crazy moves there throughout that race, and so I'm looking forward to watching this. Hey, I got to give a shout to Bobby Farrell for he drove really good tonight. He was up front a lot there, and I was pushing him and just kind of talking to him, calming him down, and keeping him going there. But he did a good job, and I want to give it up to Rodney Sullins Paints. I tell you what, the old Astroglide. He put little extra glide on that thing, and it slipped through the field tonight. And looking forward to the Big Bones Memorial coming up, man. That's going to be a great race, and to honor our buddy, and we're just looking forward to that. And we'll catch you next week, and hopefully we can get a couple positions better next week.
Sounds good. Donnie Garrett, 3rd place here tonight. Going to be looking, as he said, for those couple of extra spots. Maybe we'll be talking in victory lanes, the 3rd multi-time winner on the season in a week's time. But congratulations once again on the great run here tonight, Donnie, and best of luck for the final races here of season 68.
Woo!
There it is.
There it is, the classic Nature Boy woo, as Donnie Garrett gets the final spot on the podium, again, by 0.02 of a second. We had photo finishes all the way back through the top 10, but up at the front, only one driver could win, only one driver could cross the line in second. Let's see if we can dial up the driver that came up just 1,000th short of claiming the victory here tonight at Talladega. Hey, Bob, it's the guys up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Whoa, I made it up to the booth?
You did indeed.
Wow.
Man, I'll tell you what. We've been treated to incredible finishes here in the Talladega Challenge Series. This the closest finish of this season so far, 1/1000th of a second. We watched back the replay. You didn't have a car within half a car length of you all the way through 3 and 4, and yet you were still able to hold onto the right rear quarter panel of the 889. Then the help comes, and you were able to get that run through the tri-oval. How were you able to keep the momentum by yourself for so long a time, to keep yourself in the conversation by the time you guys got back to the stripe?
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't lift at all when Cabana and Chuck, that happened right in front of me, and then he blocked me a little bit, and Donnie went with him, and I stayed in it the whole time. So just hoping I get some help. And Bobby Farrell gave me some there at the end. I know Joe was up in the line too, but I don't know who else was around. But yeah, I looked at the helicopter view. I might challenge that. LOL.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about the finish in a minute. One thing I want to talk about was the call that you made at halfway. We saw you and a few other drivers forgo fuel to get the valuable stage points. We then saw you a few laps later come to pit road all by yourself, taking a gamble that you may end up cycling out without any draft whatsoever. You catch the caution at the right time. Everyone comes down pit road. You're the race leader. The gamble certainly paid off, but how nervous were you that it was actually going to work out in a positive way?
Real nervous, because there were 2 gambles. I only took a can and a half leading up to halfway, so that's why I knew I could only go a lap or 2 past the halfway point. So, so I did get some stage points, and then I had a pit right away. And I was just leaving my pit stall, and the yellow came out. So I had 2 nice yellows that helped me tonight. No broken gears and no damage. Some good help, and everything worked out good tonight.
Now, we're going to talk about this. Obviously, everything currently sits unofficial. We have to wait for admin review and everything, but it almost seemed like we had a case of deja vu from last season. We saw you come up short in a photo finish to Tim Anderson, who had thrown a late block, caused an incident, and admin review ended up EOLing him. You were awarded the victory. Similar situation here tonight. Cabana throwing a block, McClure going around. We may end up having a case where the review swings your direction the same way. It may not seem like much to people watching, but that's 3 extra bonus points if you are declared the winner, getting you a little bit closer to that championship hunt with 2 races to go. Your thought process on that here, obviously, I know that we calling you tonight as the runner-up, but what does it maybe do in a change of mentality going into next week if you are named the winner of this race tonight?
Yeah, it kind of looks like the same deal. It gets crazy there at the end with the blocks. If it does, I'll get a little closer. But this is my first top 10 this year, so it's really crazy. I've had a ridiculous year, but to get a little bit closer would be good. Top 5 in points would be all right. But we'll just see what happens. I ran hard. He ran a good race. We'll see.
Well, a great run for you here tonight, bringing it home solidly on the podium, scoring currently showing you in the 2nd position, but playing the strategy to perfection, getting the track position when you needed it, and being in the conversation for the victory here tonight in this 3rd playoff race. Congratulations on your podium finish here tonight. As you mentioned, first top 10 in the season. Can't believe that this far into the season we're saying that, but congratulations on that, and we'll now give it the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yes, sir. Well, we're going to go FRN. Thank you. Enjoy it. Blaine, Tarnation TV. Thank you. RTG, all, Sean and Jeremy, all the guys that put the work in. Thursday nights, Josh, Rodney, Timmy. Of course, Bernie's Paints, Mobs Motors, Shadows on Fire. All the D's where I used to work. And giddy up.
Well, that is Bob Seminara. Brings it home in the 2nd position here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Gains a little bit of ground on the points lead as well with 2 races to go here in the playoffs. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck going forward in these final 2 races of season 68.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to thank the anonymous donor for all the fallen, respecting all the fallen past drivers and admin. We miss them. All right. Thank you, guys.
That's Bob Seminara, 2nd place here this evening. Again, a 1/1000th of a second photo finish here tonight in the 3rd playoff race. And Bob mentioned about this being his first top 10 of the season. He's participated, I believe, in all races so far. Average finish of 20th coming into tonight. So a big shot in the arm for the driver of the 712. We ended up talking about the fact that triple-digit cars apparently are really good in qualifying. Triple-digit cars apparently really good in finishing results as well, as 2 triple-digit cars were involved in that photo finish. Let's dial up the driver whose splitter hit the start-finish line first. Let's dial up down in victory lane, RJ Cabana. Hey, RJ, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
A 5th start this season, part-time capacity on Thursday nights, but in victory lane here this evening. Close one, a nail-biter. We saw the 712 building momentum through the tri-oval. We had it too close to call. We weren't certain whose splitter got to the start-finish line first. How certain were you that you were the first one back there before you checked your F2?
I wasn't certain at all. It was just hard racing. It was awesome finish. I mean, whoever got it, got it. I mean, I was just trying to keep it straight, I was watching them pull up the side of me and, trying to take the least short line coming out of the tri-oval, try to keep up my momentum too, because I saw him coming, had a good push there. at the end, so just try to hold it straight and see who got there first. But yeah, it was an awesome finish.
Whether it was the timing of cautions or some playoff drivers playing some pit strategy around halfway, we saw yourself and a number of non-playoff drivers be able to find yourself cycled up to the front of the field late in this race. You were the control car there on the restart, 2-lap shootout. How nerve-wracking was that? How decisive were you able to be in your moves? How difficult was it to kind of determine where the runs were coming from?
Yeah, I was asking a couple of my teammates on my team, Black Sheep, with Denny Carroll. He's won a race or two, so I was talking to him in team speak under caution, asking him which lane to go, and then I was talking about drivers that were lining up behind me who would give me a good push, who try to get my car out front. And then once I, made that determination, and I chose to go low. I chose to stay with Chuck McClure. He wins a lot of races here. So, went with him, and then I just had to focus really on, getting up through the gearbox, getting through the gearbox, getting on the backstretch. And then once I got up to speed, then I got to watch the lines and try to control each line and try to keep myself out front. That was really the main focus after I'd made that decision.
You mentioned about working with Chuck. We saw the contact between you and him on the back straightaway and that block for the lead and eventually the race win. We also saw him kind of pull up alongside you there during the victory lane burnouts. Was there a message being sent there or something?
Absolutely. But it's racing. I don't come in here to wreck anybody, or I try to race clean. I'm only a part-time guy. I just saw a run building. Try to stay in front of him. I saw him go high. I try to go high, and then obviously it looks like, I don't know if it was a bumper grab. He may have went higher. I may have tried to go higher. I don't know. That'll be on the admins to call. Hopefully the win sticks. I was just trying to protect my position. I knew he was going to try to bait me high or bait me low. He did it a couple races before in my 5 races here, and he wins. He wins a lot. So, I know he's going to try to do what he can do, but it was not intentional at all, so I just want to put that out there.
Well, a thriller of a finish here tonight, right in the middle of the playoffs. Closest finish that we have had so far here in season 68. And your splitter just long enough, the momentum just enough for you to be able to edge Seminara out to pick up the checkered flag here tonight. Kind of spoiled the party for the playoff drivers as you pick up the victory as a non-playoff contender. RJ, we're going to give you the opportunity here now for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'd like to thank RTG for putting on these races. They do a tremendous job, you guys broadcasting. Shout out to my sister-in-law, Holly, out in California. She's recovering from a procedure, so she's just online, watching this event. Appreciate you watching, Holly. Shout out to my wife, Crystal, my kids, Jack, Luke, and West, and my sister-in-law, Holly. Thanks for watching.
It's RJ Cabana, your winner here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway, and a thriller of a photo finish here on this Thursday evening. Congratulations once again on the victory, RJ.
Appreciate it. Thanks, RTG, and thanks, guys, for what you guys do. You guys do a tremendous job.
RJ Cabana in victory lane, yet another new name to find victory circle here in season 68. And obviously, as we say, a lot of this is going to be pending review on what happened on the final lap. And I think one of the big takeaways that I really like out of all this, Kyle, is you can obviously understand the frustration of a playoff driver like Chuck McClure, but you heard Donnie Garrett and RJ Cabana. It doesn't matter if you're a playoff driver or a non-playoff driver. Everybody wants to win here on a Thursday night because we hear it consistently. These races are so difficult to win with the high level of competition.
Oh, definitely. And, I've said it several times. That's the great thing about racing. Even if you're not in contention for the championship, there's always something to race for. You can always go out there and try to pick up as many, checkered flags as you can. And we saw that tonight with the, 2 non-playoff drivers up there in the top 3, and RJ Cabana and Donnie Garrett.
Point standings currently as they sit with the finishing results and the stage points awarded calculated in. Joe DeSpirito had 15 points over Grant Wesley, who was not in the field tonight, had to take a provisional. 18 points over Tim Knopfsker, who had an engine failure. Now going into 2 races remaining, 27 points over his nearest competitor, which is Rodney Sullins. Sullins, Ulysses Sandoval, and Jeremy Jeffries all managed to gain 2 spots in the standings, but Sullins is minus 27, Sandoval minus 31, and Jeremy Jeffries minus 33. It was looking, at least for a moment, like they might be able to cut a big chunk into Joe DeSpirito's points lead. DeSpirito able to come back for a top 10. You almost have to wonder, with 2 races left, if Joe's able to pick up another top 10 run next week, is he too far out of reach for anybody by the time we get to the season finale?
Well, it definitely depends. I mean, seeing how he does in terms of the stage racing, which he's been very good at this season. So if he gets another solid finish, gets some stage points, maybe some bonus points for leading a lap, I mean, yeah, it could definitely be out of reach next week. But this is Talladega. We all know how unpredictable the racing is here, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I took a quick look. These drivers have now run 13 races this season, and while Joe DeSpirito only has the 1 victory, he has an average finishing position of 12th. That leads all drivers so far this season, so the consistency has definitely been there. And tonight he had to kind of make a comeback in the first half of this race to keep that consistency going as well. But there's still 2 races remaining, 132 laps still to be run at this 2.66 mile super speedway, and we will continue this season next Thursday night. We now know as well, not only will Joe DeSpirito be looking to hold off the Thundering Herd for the overall championship, but he and Jeremy Jeffries will go head-to-head next week in the finals of the Bracket Challenge Championship as well. Could it be a clean sweep for driver 24? Jeremy Jeffries going to try and spoil that party starting next week. But it's going to be really interesting to see the fallout of this race, how it impacts the point standings going into next week as well. Could be an entirely different story of who's positioned where in the overall points by the time we take the green flag in the 4th playoff race of the season. But we thank everybody for joining us for our coverage here tonight. Closest photo finish so far, season 68, 1/1000 of a second, non-playoff driver RJ Cabana over Bob Seminara. What do the final 2 races of the season have in store? We're going to have to find out. Be sure to join us next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right back here for Rolling Thunder Gaming's Talladega Challenge Series. For Blaine Donlan, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for spending your Thursday evening with us, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flat Out Racing Network and Tarnation TV.